Good afternoon, Alamin. Welcome to our Jewish Seniors Alliance Spring Forum. For those of you who have been with us in past times, typically we would be meeting in the Parrott Center auditorium, and we'd be sitting around small tables with beautiful refreshments, open to our guest speakers. COVID has, of course, required that we have these events on Zoom. However, the wonderful thing is we now have 78 participants at 8 minutes past 2. So this is fantastic. My name is Gita Chud, and I serve along with Larry Shapiro as the co-chair of Jewish Seniors Alliance. So I just want to begin with a thank you to everybody who has joined us for what we know will be an extremely informative session, and also to highlight the ways in which the central issues for JSA will really come together and be integrated today. So primarily, we have 4 foundational elements that we work on. The first is outreach. So we made an outreach to our guest speaker, Dr. Noah, and he reached right back to us. We made an outreach to all of you through our flyer, and you reached back to us. The second key theme for us at JSA is education. And for the most part, the majority of our sessions, although they may well include some entertaining aspects, focus on education and all of our commitment to lifelong learning. I think it's true we would all say, whether we're in our 60s, 70s, 80s, or even 90s, life learning goes on every day. The third key element is advocacy. I'm very much reminded that today, March 21st, is the International Day for the Elimination of Racial discrimination. This was declared by the United Nations decades and decades ago, after a number of very peaceful protesters in South Africa were killed. So advocacy for and within our Jewish community, the larger community, and the global community is very much a part of our values, our vision, and our mission. And finally, peer support. Well, here we are today, no matter the unfortunates of us who are younger to those who are older, supporting each other in a very peer-oriented relationship. And I think that that was really the segue to why our motto for JSA became Seniors Stronger Together. And so I think in all of those key areas, we will move forward today in a wonderful way. And so to introduce Dr. Alexander, we welcome Tamara Frankel, a member of our JSA board and executive, who will provide the introduction. Over to you, Tamara.
Thank you. I don't have the screen. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I can't see you, but okay. So I'm Tamara Frankel, and the question is, can I trust that? This is the question that our speaker today will deal with. I am delighted to introduce Dr. Noah Alexander, and I totally trust that he'll enlighten us all this afternoon. Dr. Noah Alexander is a practicing emergency physician at Vancouver General Hospital. Although he usually works on the front line, he is excited to help empower patients to take care of their own health through education on digital health literacy. He does this work through his role as the Associate Director of Digital Health Literacy at the Intercultural Online Health Network, an organization that helps multicultural community members understand and manage their chronic health conditions. Dr. Alexander, whose accomplishments include a half Ironman, which is one of a series of long-distance triathlon races, can certainly be trusted with his perfect timing of traveling the world in 2019, just before the world was hit by COVID. Please welcome Dr. Noah Alexander.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. You said a lot of what I would have wanted to say already, so thank you for that kind introduction. As mentioned, so my name is Noah Alexander. I'm a physician. I also did do that Ironman. My grandfather always told me that Jews were meant to wander the desert 40 years, not run and race and do all those things. But I didn't listen. So I think that the last time I spoke in front of this many Jews was my bar mitzvah, and I had to sing Torah. So thank God I don't have to do that again. Today, I'll be talking to you about how to identify high quality health information online. My goal really is to give you a systematic approach and a evidence-based approach to evaluate some of this information that you come across online. We're going to start, one second, see if that works. I got my fancy clicker here, and of course, right before the presentation, it fell on the floor and the batteries went everywhere, and my pregnant wife had to get off the couch and go find the batteries. So, you know, but things work out. That's why we're the chosen people. So overview. Whoa, something just happened. Can you guys escape? There's some kind of glitch. Do you guys see? Oh, hello?
Hi, Noah. At the top menu bar, it says options, and there's, for your shared screen, it may see you can make it 100% or 50%. Is that helpful with the share screen?
Let's see.
It says view options, and then you can.
Can you guys see all the little squares right now?
Yes, many, many.
Many, many squares, lots of information.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see this.
You could, yeah.
How's that?
Good.
So okay, so you see full screen, everyone good? Can I have a thumbs up? Okay. So we're gonna start with an introduction of the problem and my proposed solution. We're then gonna talk about the tool that we're gonna be using to filter through all of this online health information. It's called the Health Summit Working Group tool, and we've modified it to make it a little bit more approachable for you guys and for lay people. We're gonna go through some red flags for you to watch out for. We're gonna do a couple video walkthroughs. Then we're gonna do an interactive quiz where we test your knowledge of this material and we see if you've been able to incorporate it. And then we're gonna finish with a conclusion. There will be, I'll ask for people to put their questions into the chat. And what we've decided is that there will be pauses throughout my presentation where you can put questions into the chat, and myself and the JSA executives have decided we'll answer everything at the end. I do want to thank the JSA for giving me this opportunity to give back to my own community. It feels really special to me to be able to give back to our culture and our people. So thank you for that. So the problem is that we are blessed with all of this fantastic information online. We're in the information age, and we're able to access really anything that we want at the touch of a button. The hard thing is it's really difficult to know what's good and what's not. Can I trust that? The title of this presentation. And I hope that by the end, you'll be able to tell the difference between that misleading information, the untrustworthy stuff that may be untrustworthy or misleading by no intention, and the really high quality evidence. And the solution is going to be by providing you with this modified tool that you can use to apply to any health information that you come across online. Learning goals. So the first learning goal is to bring awareness to the varying quality of health information that can be found online. There's a ton of it out there. A lot of people aren't aware of the varying sort of usefulness and quality. So we're going to talk about that. Then I'm going to teach you how to properly evaluate the quality of that evidence. And then finally, I'm going to teach you some ways to avoid misinformation. First, how to start. So we all use a search engine to find the health information that we want, whether you've got diabetes or high blood pressure, you've got a stroke or a heart attack. Generally, people want to learn more and they use a search engine. My first suggestion is that rather than writing out sentences, use keywords or short phrases to get better results. After that, a big thing is to make sure that you scroll through the hits. The hits just mean those websites that come up. And you want to first look and see, where do they come from? Is it a reliable source? Is it not reliable? Don't go down the rabbit hole of that website if you can't trust it up front. So that's my first two suggestions. This is the tool that we're going to be using and that we've modified for you to make it easier. It's called the Health Summit Working Group tool. It's got 6 broad criteria that are used to evaluate the quality of health information online. It's validated, it's evidence-based, and it's systematic. So that's what I'm hoping that you'll be able to use and apply to your browsing. A lot of people kind of have a sense of how to interpret health information, but this will give you a little bit more of a real tool to use. There's 2 main pillars in our modified tool. The first is credibility, and the second is content. This will come up a few times. If you take away nothing from this presentation, nothing, just take away those 2 words, credibility and content. If you put those in your front of your mind when you're evaluating a website, that will make a big difference. Within credibility, we want to look at the source. Who's the author? What's the web page? Who wrote it? Currency is the next thing. How old is it? Make sure you look for where the publication date is. Relevance, this is key. Is it relevant to the question that you're asking? Often web engines will bring up advertisements or other websites that happen to be more popular, but if it's not answering your question, then it's not helpful to you. Was there a review process? So did some other third party that was objective and non-biased go through it and make sure that that information is worthwhile? Has it been accredited, for example, which is even higher level? Then we look at content. How accurate is the content? Is there a disclaimer or a warning about the content as there should be? When to use it, when not to use it? How complete is the content? So how do we do this? Again, coming back to the 2 C's. If you get nothing else out of this presentation, credibility and content. And make sure you practice this. After this, try Google something that you're interested in related to your own health or a family member's health, and see if you can apply these filters yourself. So first, where does this information come from? The first step is really just to look at the logo. Can you guys see my pointer? Can I get a thumbs up or a wave? Yes? Geeta, I can see you. Yeah, okay. So you want to look at the logo. And first, do you recognize the logo? Is it from an organization that you know and trust, like the CDC or Health Canada or HealthLink BC? Or maybe it's from Vancouver General Hospital or St. Paul's or some other hospital that you go to and you trust their website. So that's the first step. Second step to figuring out where it comes from is looking at the URL. The URL is a line at the top, www. whatever it is. And if it ends in .com down there, that tends to be from a for-profit company. If it's .org, for example, JSA.org, those tend to be from nonprofit organizations. So the information is likely more trustworthy. If it's .gov, that's a governmental website, also more likely to be trustworthy. .edu is a educational organization, so like a UBC site, a Langara site, Mayo Clinic, some sections of their website are educational. Then we want to look at the authors. Are their names listed? There should always be an author. Then we want to look at their credentials. Do their credentials apply to the article that they're writing about? For me, as a physician, when I read a medical literature, I will actually Google the physician if it's not obvious and see what their background is. I don't want to read, I'm an emergency doctor, so I have to know a bit about everything. But I don't want to read about strokes if it was written by a gastroenterologist. I don't want to read about PTSD if it was written by a cardiologist. So you want to make sure you look at what their credentials are. Are there any financial considerations? Did those authors get paid to write this? Is the website collecting money through ads or other things that might bias them? And we're going to talk a little bit more about bias later. Here's an example. So we got up at the top, cdc.gov. Okay, that's good. Governmental website. We see the logo for CDC. That's great. So seems worthwhile. We've got the logo, check. We've got the .gov, check. So those are two good signs. So get the facts about coronavirus. That's probably a worthwhile website to read more about. Can you trust this? Well, we've got the logo, Public Health Association of BC. I recognize that. It's a .org. Okay, so it's probably nonprofit. Maybe that reduces its risk of bias as compared to reading on the Advil website about pain medications. So we've got the logo and we've got the .org. Two good things leaning towards trustworthy website. What about this information? What is a glioblastoma? It's a brain tumor. But let's say we're trying to learn about it. This website has advertisements. So what do we think about this? On the left, we've got an advertisement from what looks like Sport Check. They're advertising some various golf shirts, that type of thing. It's unlikely that an advertisement for golf shirts is going to introduce bias, or bias is a systematic deviation from the truth. It basically means, would that advertiser pressure this website to write things according to what the advertiser wants? Unlikely if it's Sport Check. But then we look at the other side. This is a biotech firm that's advertising on this website at WebMD. So a biotech firm might have some kind of arrangement with WebMD where, hey, we'll give you $100,000 in advertising if you let us write a few articles for you, or if you let us screen your articles, because that company is not going to want anything bad to come out about their products on WebMD. So that's where they can introduce bias. Let's say we're searching for, why do I have a headache? So this is, again, you want to make sure you take a look through the few hits that you get and see where they come from. The first one that comes up is www.tylenol.ca, and Google justifiably says it's an ad. So there's definitely going to be a conflict of interest there. The next thing we want to look at that we talked about is date. When was it published? If it was published in 1992, it's not going to be useful information to you unless you're interested in medical history or trying to really just get background. Most of the time we want up-to-date stuff. So here we can see in the bottom right, it says May 8th, 2020. So fairly recently. And most of the time, the dates are either at the bottom right or the top right. So the point here is, again, before you start reading the article, screen around and look for some of these things, the logo, the .org, the web, when was it published, those types of things before you start jumping into rabbit holes. So let's say, should I get a flu shot? Or maybe there's another type of shot that everyone's wondering about. Say you want to learn about that. So we Google, should I get a flu shot? Simple, short keywords, good search. And then we look at our hits. Okay, these two hits, cdc.gov. Oh, that seems good. And who should and should not get a flu vaccine? Perfect, that's answering your question. It's from a reliable resource, that's it. Next one, cdc.gov, key facts about seasonal flu vaccine. Also probably a great resource. Maybe doesn't answer your question exactly. And that's shown even more here, same search. The first thing that comes up, because they're advertising, is neocitrin. You see the little green thing that says ad? That means that this is a sponsored post. That's why they're at the top. And the other thing is neocitrin total flu, help fight your flu symptoms. But what was your question? Your question was, should I get a flu shot? Oh, some of the video changed, there we go. The next one, flu shots and vaccines at Sobeys. That's fantastic if you're looking to get one, but you want to just learn about them right now. The truth is, again, almost everyone should be getting a flu shot. These are just examples for you to think about. So we're going to do a quick video walkthrough I'm going to unmute. I don't know if I was muted for a reason, but I'm going to unmute for a sec. So this is a video walkthrough. You have vertigo, which is that feeling of spinning around, and you want to learn more. Okay, so I'm just going to click this. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio.
Let's go through how we can effectively search for quality health information on a broad topic like vertigo. So I've typed that in on Google, and let's click on the first link here, which is by Wikipedia. Here there is a highlighted piece of information which tells me exactly what vertigo is, and it seems as if there's a lot of good information to read. However, the issue with a site like Wikipedia is that it has an edit feature. And by using this feature, you can change the content of the web page. So it makes it really difficult to analyze the credibility or the accuracy of the information that you are reading. So for that reason, it's not a good idea to trust Wikipedia for health information. So I'm going to go back and scroll down to the second link provided to me by Google, which is by medicalnewstoday.com. Here we have a really great general title. It says everything you need to know about vertigo. So it seems as if this will be a good site for general information. However, there is an advertisement on the top and an advertisement on the right. And the small banner here, we have some text which reads, if you buy something through a link on this page, we may earn a small commission. So maybe some of the information that will be presented on this site will have a conflict of interest with some of the products or the services that are being advertised. And generally, when we want to search for good quality information, we really want to avoid any form of bias or conflict of interest. So let's go back and explore a different method of finding some information. So instead of searching for the topic that I want to know about, I'm going to search for the website that I know I can trust. So I've typed in HealthLink BC. I'm going to click on the first link, which will take me to their website. And here under health topics, I'm going to try to find a web page that I can read and learn more about vertigo from. So we have an alphabetical feature here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the V. And there's quite a bit of information on a lot of health topics here. So I'll just go ahead and click on the first link about vertigo. And if I want to know more about vertigo, I have a link here I can click on as well. And it tells me exactly what vertigo is. And I can close that and continue reading more about the exercises. And generally speaking, this site also seems to be really well organized, and there are no advertisements on it either. Here I can read the date that it was updated, the author of this article, as well as read about the medical review process. And these are all really good signs. And it assures me that this is really good quality information. So this is an alternative way and perhaps a more effective way to get information about a broad healthcare topic.
Okay, great. So a good way, again, going back to what we talked about, searching good keywords, screening through the hits, and then ideally even just going to sites that you know are high quality. Then you don't have to look around so much. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is, has this information been reviewed? We're still within that credibility sort of pillar. So within medicine, we always want to look for peer-reviewed articles. You want someone that has taken an objective look at the information that's provided and provided their opinion on its accuracy and usefulness. Accreditation is an even better way to do that. They will systematically go through how, say, for example, here, the CDC promotes health and how they create their articles and what the CDC's process is. And Accreditation Canada has approved them with exemplary standing. So if you see something like this, excuse me, that's a big win. That means that that website is trustworthy. Here's another example, Health Prep. So contributors, medical authors who write for us. So Health Prep employs the assistance of medical professionals to make sure our content is accurate. Okay, that seems good. If you're a medical author and you want to write, contact them at that email. And then they say, note, we do not accept low quality guest posts or columns. Each article must pass through strict editorial guidelines and reviews. This will be explained in our response to your request. So it's a bit unusual. It's not, the editorial process isn't explained. It's not transparent. And in fact, the only way you can find out about it is if you email them as a medical author. That should raise a few eyebrows. So you want to make sure you're looking for whether or not the information has been reviewed. We're going to pause. I want everyone to think about if they've had any questions up until this point. And I'm going to ask you to write that into the chat box. So the chat box, as some of you I think have found, it's in the panel, the control panel. And you can type your questions. I'm not going to answer any of them now because we've decided to try and do it all at the end. But if you have any questions that have come up, please type them. Or if you don't want to, you can just write them down now and figure out later how to type them in. I see a lot of people doing stuff, so maybe there's questions, I'm not sure. I'm going to continue. Oh. So back to the 2 C's. Credibility we've finished with, now we're on to content. Again, if you don't remember anything else, credibility, content. So we want to first ask ourselves, how accurate is this information? Here's an example from HealthLink BC. So they'll describe where they get their information from. So they get medically approved information on more than 5,000 health and nutrition topics. Okay, that's good. And then down below they say, this includes information from subject matter experts across the province, service providers, and our internal clinical team of registered dietitians and our knowledge-based supplier HealthWise. Okay, that sounds pretty good. What's HealthWise though? We don't know. Are they going to tell us? And HealthLink BC does. So HealthWise is essentially a company that helps hospitals and health organizations find evidence-based information and makes it accessible for the public. HealthWise is also nonprofit, so that seems like a good thing. Less chance of bias. And then they're also super transparent as far as what you can read more about them at the links down below. Terms of use, their knowledge-based editorial policy and processes. So you can see, compared to the previous one, where you had to be like a medical author, this one is much more transparent. Oop, one sec. Here's another example from Health Prep. So they do have a disclaimer, so that's good. It says you're encouraged to confirm any information obtained from or through this website with other sources. So that's good. They're not saying that everything can be found here. And they also say seek medical attention or listen to your doctor, which is also good. One thing to note though is they don't give any external links, because often these private websites, they want to keep you within their website, right? Because that's where you're going to purchase things. If they give you links to external websites, you leave and you don't buy anything. So it's a good sign if websites cross-reference other good websites. The other thing with this Health Prep website is, if you read closer at the bottom, certain content that appears on this site comes from Amazon. So what's Amazon's conflict of interest? What's their disclaimer? Is Amazon in existence to help improve your health? Probably not. So that's a bit of a red flag and should raise your ears. Here's an example from HealthLink BC. They say their disclaimer is there, which is good. It's only a guide. As you can see, that's underlined there. You still need to use your common sense. If any of this conflicts with what your doctor tells you, follow your doctor. And then they also will provide links. They talk about their limitations, and they encourage you, like I said, to check with your doctor, which is always a good sign. Here's a good example of providing external resources on a website. So here we've got, if you remember, logo down in the bottom right there. Here, so we see British Columbia, the province of BC. That's the logo I recognize, I trust it. It's from Patient Care Quality Office, so that's good. And then we want to learn about medical assistance in dying, and you can reach them at this phone number. You can reach them at this email. Here's some Q&As. And then, hey, if you didn't get enough information, here's more information, external sites. Private sites that are trying to make money won't give you external links as often. So these are all good signs. To summarize, so this is the tool. If you wrote anything down, I would say write this. The two C's are the only thing that you're going to remember if you remember anything: credibility and content. Within credibility, we look at the source. Where does the information come from? Who's the authors? The currency, how recent was it made? So top right or bottom right is often where the date is. Relevance to your question. Does it answer your question? And is there a review process? Are they accredited? Are there external reviewers? And then finally, looking at the content, is it accurate? Is there an appropriate disclaimer? Does the information seem complete? So next, we're going to go through some red flags. These are always kind of funny, and you come across all kinds of funny things on the internet and miracle cures and stuff. Those are certainly a red flag. If it seems too good to be true, it often is. If they require payment or entering personal information, that's a red flag. Forums and other things like that, like Reddit or Facebook, where the information is given by non-experts and it's often anonymous, those are red flags. If there's no privacy policy, that's concerning. If it contains spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes. Finally, if there's no author listed or date, or the date isn't listed, that's a red flag as well. So here's some examples of miracle cures. So up in the top left there, some pills. It says that urologist reveals men can fix their erectile dysfunction by doing this, and try it tonight. The next one is, if you put a red onion on your head, you won't be bald anymore. Unlikely. And the thing is, I don't know what this can of red is, but it seems to cure a lot of things. So it looks like maybe cranberry gel, but they say it can cure your toenail fungus, and it also will reduce your enlarged prostate size. So be wary of things that seem too good to be true. The truth is, a lot of these are what's called clickbait. So you may think it's not true, but you're interested enough to click it and read it, and then they may try and sell you something else, or like, it's just not worth your time. If they ask you to put in payment information to get information on their website, that's a red flag. Most information right now is free and it's open access. Certainly websites will provide you information and then ask you for a payment later for their full service. That can happen, and that's not necessarily a problem. If they ask you to put in your social insurance number or your PHN number, that's a major red flag. Unless they're like a governmental website, I would never do that. The other thing is, most websites should offer you a trial, so you should be able to do that without putting in payment information. This website doesn't seem to be a trial. From forums, this can be really dangerous, because especially during COVID, where maybe people aren't able to see their physician as much, or they can only see them virtually. They're using things like Facebook or Reddit. Here we've got the user named JPP Player is asking if it's bad to take Advil and Tylenol together. And then the boring dude, 00, answers him, and he says it's not so bad, but you can take, what did he say? It's not as bad as taking ibuprofen or naproxen, but in fact, naproxen is within the same drug class as Advil, and Advil and Tylenol are great to take together as long as you're allowed to take Advil. So the point is that a lot of the people on forums, they may know more than you do, and therefore to you, they seem like someone with authority, or they might be, but they don't know enough. They don't know enough to really give you information. So really be wary of any forums. If there's no privacy policy, that's a concern. Here is an example. So they have a privacy policy that you can link to, you can read about it, and they give you the option of either accepting their privacy policy or not. And it's very transparent. You always want to look for transparency. This is a good one. So here, you can see up at the top, the article is that studies show that magnesium treats ADHD better and safer than ADHD drugs. This sounds great. Magnesium has less side effects than the ADHD drugs, but is it true? And is this author qualified to be writing on this? So if we just read the article, we wouldn't know that, but if we scroll to the bottom, we see the author. So she's a writing student. Her passions include learning new things, performing musical theater, playing piano, guitar, and ukulele. Some of her favorite pastimes are baking and napping. I don't think this person is qualified to be writing about changes to medications. And the problem is that many people might start to make these changes, right? So always check who the author is and if their credentials are applicable. If there's spelling mistakes, aside from being funny, if there's a spelling mistake in an article or on a web page, that's a real red flag that they have not taken the time to edit it and ensure that they're giving you proper information. Okay, we're gonna do another quick video walkthrough. So the question here is, should I get a flu shot? Again, just give me a thumbs down if you can't hear the audio.
So let's go through a video walkthrough of a commonly asked question to test some of the skills that we have picked up. So I've typed in here, should I get a flu shot? And here I can see the first couple of links have ad written on the left side, so I know that these are advertisements. And they might not provide me with unbiased information, but let's click the first link and see what it says. It opens up to a website by Sobeys Pharmacy, and it's telling me that I can go ahead and get my flu shot at Sobeys Pharmacy if I would like, which is great, but it's not really answering my questions. So I'm going to go back and try to find a more reputable site. I'm going to skip these ads and scroll down to the first link that I see, and it's by mayoclinic.org, which we know is a reputable site. It also ends with .org, so I know that there is an organization behind Mayo Clinic. Right away, we can see that there is a highlighted piece of text which directly answers my question. Sometimes Google chooses to do this with commonly asked questions. And here I can say that, yep, I should get my flu shot if I am 6 months of age or older. Well, I want to scroll down and try to see when this information was published. A lot of information here for me to read, and I can tell that it's published on September 12, 2019, which is relatively recent, so that's a good sign. If I scroll back up, I also want to check who this information was written by. So click on by Mayo Clinic staff, and I can read a paragraph here, which explains a little bit more. It says physicians, scientists, and other medical experts. Okay, and it also allows me to click further and explore some of the medical editors, and it lists their names and qualifications, which is awesome.
Note the transparency.
So I know that they are open about disclosing their editors and their authors, which is a good sign. So let's go back to the original webpage. And here I want to point out that on the left side here, we also have some products and services being advertised. On the right side, there's an advertisement policy, which says that the revenue supports their not-for-profit mission. So they are clear in disclosing their advertisement policy, and they don't have too many ads on their site. It's just one ad on the left. So all in all, I think this is a pretty reputable source of information.
Okay. So again, we're going to pause here. Yeah.
Noah, we've had a couple of mentions for the last video and for this one that you've just showed us, that people are concerned that they can't see the video, they can only hear it. So Liz and I have been trying to say the video is audio only. Maybe as or if you have more videos to share, you could just tell us in advance that, you know, we'll only be hearing rather than also viewing.
Oh, you didn't see those videos?
No, we didn't. And not to worry, because we heard all the verbal around it. But a lot of people wondered if something was amiss, you know.
Well, unfortunately, something is amiss. I think there's a glitch with the screen share. Maybe it's just my PowerPoint. I'd be happy to go over that last video if you guys want, or we could do it at the end if we have time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would suggest that we move forward because I guess for Liz and I, at least being able to hear gives us a good sense of the video. So
Okay.
why don't we just go ahead? I see a few people are thumbs up.
Okay, we'll go ahead. I'll send out those videos after too, the links.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna stop. Can I stop sharing though? Because I think it might, for the next one, it'll be better. I'm gonna stop share and reshare. Just give me one moment. Okay, so you guys can see that. You can see the presentation. Can everybody see?
We can
Okay.
see.
So I think now this will be better. Okay, now we're going to go through an interactive quiz. So we're going to be doing some polls. So Jen, I'll call for the polls to come up with question 1 and question 2. Hopefully this works. Basically, you guys watch and you're going to click your answer, what you think it is. Okay, so this quiz is interactive. There's 10 questions. You guys vote, and then I'll click on the one you vote for. So we ready? Let's do it. So first, now there's a clip here. So I'm going to click it. Gita, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the video? You see the new window popping up? Do you guys see a video? No video. Oh, Shireen sees it. Gita, you can't see it? Leah Levitt, can you see it? Or what about Sunny Rothschild? Can you see it? Yes. Okay, so a lot of people can see it. So we're just scrolling around through this website. About natural news. Testimonials. There's some testimonials from different people. He's an activist turned scientist. Natural News has published hundreds of educational things that explain some complex things. Okay, we're just going to skip ahead. So you kind of get the sense. He's an activist turned scientist. They publish things. Yeah, so I'm going to pause that. And they also have a bunch of testimonials about this guy. So based on this clip, would you say that the website is credible? Yes or no? Okay, great. I don't know how many people we've got. We'll stop there. So we can end the poll. So we voted no. Oh, wait, not yet. No, we don't want that poll yet. Can I close that poll, Jen? Okay. So we're gonna click no. And that's correct. So credible websites are unbiased. This clearly had some bias towards selling some various natural products. Poll to close that. Credentials of all the authors should have been posted and verifiable, which they weren't. All information should be cited from other credible websites. So we want to look for them linking you to other websites, right? Because if their goal is to increase your knowledge, they don't care if you stay on their website only. There shouldn't be related ads, and testimonials, importantly, aren't evidence. So here's an example of the testimonial. Someone said, "I'm so impressed with the work that you are doing and the information you're disseminating. It's just vital for people to get this sort of information." And that's by Michael T. Murray, author of Encyclopedia of Healing Foods. And the fact is, you don't know what type of cross-promotional relationship they might have. Perhaps this person says something good about this guy and that guy says something good about the other guy. And so it's just, you don't know how trustworthy it is. And it's certainly a red flag when there's testimonials, because it probably means that they're trying to sell you something. Next question. So of these two websites, and I know it's pretty small, so I'll point out a few things. Which one appears to be more credible? So in the top one, it's ncbi.gov. In the bottom one, it's shirleyswellnesscafe.com. The top one is about COVID-19, and it's written by people from the Department of Anesthesiology, critical care. And then at the bottom, there's just a number. It says contact Shirley, and it gives her phone number if you're interested. So we can put up the poll question now. So which one is more trustworthy? The upper one or the lower one? Nice. Perfect score. That last one was a bit harder. Great guys. So I'm going to end poll. So we go with the upper one. Correct. So the credentials of the authors are listed. They apply to the topic. The information is sourced. It's a recent publication date, and there's no false advertising or miracle cures. The other thing that we didn't talk about was the website is secure. So if you look at the top of the COVID-19 one, there's a little lock button. It means that that's a secure website. Whereas the bottom, not secure, it means that if you enter payment information or stuff like that, that is not being held secure. Next question. Which criteria is not a part of the HSWG tool? Disclosure, testimonials, credibility, or content? Good. We're getting a bit of a mix. So I'm going to end it now. So the majority of people voted for testimonials. So we click that. That was correct. So just a reminder, these are the criteria for that tool that we talked about, the Health Summit Working Group tool. Credibility, we look at the source, the currency of the information, the relevance to your question, the review process that it went through. Then we look at the content, right? The 2 C's. How accurate is the information? Is there a disclaimer? And is this information complete? So testimonials are never part of that. So here's a list of authors. Let's say you're reading an article on heart disease. Who is most qualified to publish an article concerning heart disease? The first option is Malik Charbis, professor of biochemistry at Harvard. Bernice McNeil, MD, Division of Cardiology, UBC. Mark Baga, MD, Department of Dermatology. Alexander Gray, journalist with the New York Times. Excellent. So we can all agree that authorship is important. And sometimes the author might just say, it could say Dr. McNeil, MD, right? And we don't know what his background is. So it's sometimes good just to Google them, see if they come up and you can figure out what type of doctor they are. Ideally, the sites that are transparent will just say that he's a doctor of cardiology. Sites that are maybe like WebMD, which is a for-profit company that makes millions, they may just say Dr. So-and-so, MD, kind of like Dr. Oz, who seems to know about everything, right? Like it's unlikely that Dr. Oz can provide qualified medical information on everything. I think he's a general surgeon or some kind of surgeon. So Bernice McNeil, correct. So appropriate credentials, he had them. A cardiologist can write an article about heart disease, but shouldn't be writing about PTSD. So it's important to know your author. And although the other people are qualified in different ways, it's not for that specific article and your specific question. So that's what's really important. So some examples of valid medical credentials in Canada include a medical degree, what most of us know, diploma, a medical degree transcript, an internship, postgraduate training, a specialty certificate, or a medical license or registration. So next question. Which website would provide quality information about type 2 diabetes? So below, we've got a big forum with 58,000 people on it for diabetes on Reddit. And above, we have Diabetes Canada. Good. Yeah, everyone's voting for Diabetes Canada. So you're correct. And you can understand why 58,000 people go on to the diabetes Reddit. It's nice to have a community of people, but it's important to realize that of those 58,000 people, if you picture yourself as one of them, a lot of those people are going to know more than you. And they might say things where you decide to follow their suggestions. Just because they know more doesn't mean they know enough. So avoid information coming from forums. So we picked diabetes, and we were right. So again, anyone can post in a forum. The majority of information is not credible. You have no way of knowing the authors, and often they're just opinions. Next question. Should you trust a website advertising these products? So it's iHerb to tighten the skin around your jaw. Aspirin is no longer recommended to reduce AFib-related stroke risk. They've got us some cheese up there. So what do we think? Should we trust this website? Yes or no? Good. So you guys are getting good at flagging them. When you see these things, just back away. You can look at it as entertainment, but the fact is a lot of these websites, even though you know that you shouldn't be learning from them, people start to read the articles and then they start to believe them. So just avoid this in the first place. So we said no, and that was right, because they're talking about miracle cures and there's various ads. There's also advertising for non-medical supplements. And interestingly, when you read the bottom, it says that these products have not been evaluated by the US Food and Drug Administration. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So they're not claiming that these will do anything for your medical problems. So that's an important thing to read, and it's often at the bottom in small print. Question 7 of 10. So based on this Google search, predict which URL would provide accurate information. So up top, we've got the mayoclinic.org, heart failure symptoms and causes, webmd.com, 11 possible heart symptoms you shouldn't ignore. The third one down is webmd.com again, heart disease symptoms and signs of other heart problems. And then healthline.com, heart disease, risk factor prevention, and more. Okay, so we can post the poll question. So you might want to move that window to the side if you can't see. I may be biased, but you guys are a very clever group. People have gotten a lot of questions right. Okay, good. So we picked the first. So let's click it. Correct. Mayo Clinic is extremely reliable. They have multiple layers of accreditation and external review. They're accredited to do continuing medical education for people like myself, physicians, as well as dentists and other people. The Mayo Clinic is a very good resource. Its authors it's transparent who their authorship is. It's full of health and science experts, as well as medical experts. And remember to take a look at the .com.org. So the Mayo Clinic was .com.org, sorry. No, they were .edu. If you look at the top, they're .edu. So an educational organization, which is a plus. The other ones were .com. And the other thing that was good about that article is that it was a more recent date of publication, which you can see on the hit. Okay, question 8. Which organization would provide credible information on COVID-19? We can post the poll. Good, so everyone's saying BC Centre for Disease Control. The one thing I wonder, in my own personal life, I think I find most of my friends and family get their COVID information from CBC. So let's talk about that. In your minds, you know that CDC is better, but how often do we just watch CBC? We probably watch CBC more because it's more entertaining, but you're right. BC Centre for Disease Control is the right answer. Wikipedia can be edited by anyone. A friend of mine in medical school became the King of Scotland for a few days when he showed me how you can just edit it. So he was the King of Scotland from 1710 to 1715 for a couple of days until it got edited back. So careful with Wikipedia. WebMD makes millions every year. They're clearly a for-profit site. Doesn't mean that nothing is useful on there, but I would just avoid it. Go to the good sources and avoid these other ones. CBC News. So likely they do broadcast correct and accurate information, but at the end of the day, news programs are in the business of selling news, and news sells if there's more eyeballs. And the fact is humans have a negativity bias, and we're certainly seeing that during COVID. If you're standing in a room and on the one side of the room, there's a kitten surrounded by cotton candy and ice cream, and then on the other side of the room, there's a lion with blood on its face, you're going to only look at the lion, right? Because we are biased towards negativity, and because it's a danger. We're biased to pay attention to danger. And so the news often will promote the danger of everything, and everything's bad. So just get your information from these quality sources that you know, like the CDC. Here we go, next question. Question 9 of 10. If the author expresses their opinion in an article, this one's a bit trickier, can it be considered credible? So we can post the, so if the author expresses their opinion in an article, can it be considered credible? Okay. Good. I'm going to end that. Finally, you guys got one wrong. So the correct answer is actually no. So people mostly put yes only if they have the proper credentials. So maybe this question is a bit misleading, but the answer is no, and I'll explain why. So opinion-based articles are much lower evidence. In medical school and in undergrad, we learn the pyramid of evidence. At the top of the pyramid is the best evidence. That's a systematic review. At the bottom, the lowest bottom of evidence is expert opinion. Even if you're an expert, no matter what your credentials are, that is the lowest. And so unless the article is specifically an opinion piece, it's a red flag if someone starts putting in their opinions on it. It should all be just the data and the facts. Because opinions have not been peer reviewed, they can be used to promote an organization, an author, or a product. So beware if there's opinions within an article, unless it's clearly an opinion piece. And our last question, so based on this clip, do you believe this website is credible? And thumbs up for if you can see the video. Does anyone see the video? Yeah. Wearing a cloth face. So evidence for effectiveness. Who should not wear a cloth face. Some recent studies. So it's showing where they get this information from. Looks like New England Journal of Medicine. Bunch of references. Content source is the National Center for Immunization. Their disclaimer is there. Okay, good. I'm going to flip back. So based on this clip, do you believe this website is credible? Yes or no? Good. So the majority voted for yes. Correct. So the website URL ends in .gov. It's got a logo that we recognized from a source that we trust. The article was written recently in July 16, 2020. Excuse me. The sources are listed and they're good sources. New England Journal of Medicine is one of the best, if not the best journal that we have. the content is from the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. So that is a trusted resource. And the website is transparent. They've got a disclaimer. So good resource, good article, trustworthy stuff. Couple more quick polls. This is just for feedback for myself and for Icon. So if you don't mind answering these, we can post these, Jen, if you got them. So the first question is, this workshop provided information to help patients and families is supposed to be make better decisions about their health. But decisions in general. Can you guys see that poll? Geeta, are you guys able to see the poll? Yeah, okay. Oh, maybe everyone has to answer before it comes back. Oh. Geeta, does it look like people are answering? Oh, there we go. I see one answer.
Everybody is answering. Yeah, Liz and I were worried something was amiss.
Oh, okay. Looks like it's starting to come through. Oh yeah, good, okay. Maybe they have to answer all the questions before we see it.
Okay, wait a second. Now, are we going through the rest now?
Well, we can.
So we've got 19 of 70 have answered. So if you can, we'll leave a few moments for people to answer these. And then we're pretty much done the presentation. So we'll go through questions after this. I'll be sure to send out the links to those videos, because I think that they are worthwhile as a way to practice and sort of see again how to do this stuff. Okay, so we're having problems. You have to answer everything and then scroll down to submit.
Noah, I think majority of people have responded right through to these questions, which is terrific. Liz and I have tried our best to summarize from the chat the various questions that people are asking of you. So question number one, what do you think about vitamins? Maybe this is your opinion. Yes, question mark, and if so, the credibility as to how they are promoted or put forward.
So good pointing that out. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. So do I have the best credentials to answer that question? Answer is no. But what I've learned in medical school and my understanding from my own reading is that vitamins are often, there's certain interventions that are very low risk of harm and potential some benefit. Do you need vitamins if you eat a healthy diet full of vegetables, fruit, and like complex carbs and good proteins? No, you don't need it. Is it going to harm you? No. If it makes you feel better and engage with your health by taking a vitamin every day, do it. Do I take a vitamin every day? I do.
Thanks so much for the answer. And I guess, now that you've taught us everything you've taught us, okay, you're not a nutritionist, so no, but you're also a doctor and a healthy, thoughtful reader. Next, if information is from a commercial site, does this mean that it's questionable?
I would say yes. Does it mean that it's useless? No. It depends on the site, and it depends on what information you're trying to get out of it. One of the things that I'm trying to do with this presentation and this knowledge is increase awareness of potential biases. If you're reading a website about, say, headache or treatment of headache, or let's say massage therapy for headache, and it's written by a massage therapist, they're probably going to be biased towards that, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that their information is invalid. You just have to be aware of it. You have to give, it's almost like giving consent for a surgery, right? You have to know all of the information and the potential sources of bias before you make your own decision. So are all commercial websites bad? No. I think you should look for the things that we talked about, though. You want to, they should have transparency, like say where they get their money from. Look for their disclaimer. That would be my suggestion.
Thanks, Noah. By the way, as you just spoke about bias, you used a phrase earlier on that I tried to scribble down because I loved it, and I'm missing one word. You said bias is systemic what from the truth?
It's a systematic deviation.
Deviation, thank you.
From the truth.
That's the word I was looking for. Okay, next question, which is also a really interesting one. Do Canadian doctors review research from Israel and apply new research and breakthroughs?
If it makes it into the journals, then yes. There's no, as far as I know, there's no like portal to just read about Israeli breakthroughs or Israeli literature. Maybe there is. But in general, the way it works with medical literature is, say I do a study, I would have to then apply, like do my study, write it up, and then I would apply to a journal. And so the journals have something called impact factors. So the higher the impact factor, the better the journal. New England Journal of Medicine, super high. JAMA, super high. The UBC Medical School Journal, 0. Or like very low. So if an author in Israel publishes a study, they go through the same process. If their quality of their study is high enough, then they'll go to New England. If it's not, it'll go lower. So doctors will read mostly the really good stuff or the stuff that really applies to their field. I think one thing that's interesting, this may be an unpopular opinion here, I don't know, but is that we have to recognize our own bias towards Israel. Right? We tend to think that everything coming out of Israel is going to be great studies, and they're the same type of studies that come out anywhere. Israel is super advanced, and they certainly have a lot of great technology. But remember our own biases. Just because it's a study that came from Israel doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the right study for you.
Thanks for giving also such a concrete example and a little bit of more of the context about how the various, journals are rated kind of on a global scale. There is controversy re AstraZeneca. How do we determine if it's safe? Follow the CDC? I don't know.
I would follow the CDC and the government. I don't think that anybody is trying to pull any wool over anybody's eyes. I think that this, the motto of the safest vaccine is the first one you can get in your arm. I got Moderna. It was kind of new at the time when I got it. Not new, but everyone was getting Pfizer and I just got Moderna because it was available. You have to make that decision based on the information that you read. I would, number one, consider not getting that information from CBC because they're going to raise alarm bells all the time because that's what attracts viewership. Go to the CDC and try and read about it there. Talk to your healthcare provider. If you miss the AstraZeneca because you're going to get a Pfizer 4 or 5 months later, the risk benefit may not be in your favor. Maybe you want to get AstraZeneca. Plus the other thing is we don't know, we still are doing studies, right? All of these vaccines are super useful and impactful, but maybe in the end, AstraZeneca will be slightly better than Pfizer, and Moderna will be slightly better in this way, and all of that. So follow the government, what they're saying, and go to these websites. You guys now have the tools to go out and interpret information. That's the idea.
We do indeed. However, the next question, Noah, and I don't know if this is going to require you to go back through all your slides, but somebody's asking, please show again what a secure website looks like.
Oh yeah, I can find that.
You know which one it is right off the bat. We don't.
Yeah, I do. I'm just going to close this. That was this one. That's a bit small. You guys can see my pointer?
Yeah.
See here, it says not secure.
Mhm.
Try going to a few websites and pay attention. They will say that. So before you do anything like give a visa, you want to make sure it says secure. I can't see the top because something's in the way here.
I'm sorry, Noah. I'm just asking Liz. I'm unclear. Where you pointed with your pointer at the bottom of the top one, where it says not secure, are they, whoever the they is, required to post that?
So it's automatic. So
Oh,
I've recently made my own website for another project, and for a while, my website was not secure, and I didn't know how to make it secure. And so what it is I had someone help me, and it's basically in the back end of the website, you have to click like a privacy option, and then it keeps everything secure.
hmm.
So she may not, I'm not saying Shirley's like trying to steal your money, but she may not just know. But can you see up, I can't see, but do you see up at the top in the other box, there's that little lock?
Liz, can you see the lock? Yeah. We're trying to make it a bit bigger here, but
You see my screen? You see YouTube?
Yep.
Secure.
uh-huh. Oh, right. We see the little lock. Yeah.
You want to see the lock.
See the lock. That's the bottom line.
JS Alliance, you want to see the lock.
So that's the bottom line. I love it. You want to see the lock.
See the lock, you got it.
Great. Okay. Somebody, we just have, I think, 3 more questions, Noah. The CDC website, somebody's saying it's difficult to find the information. Can you show us how to scroll through or down or?
Sure. So you're gonna have to play around with different websites. The CDC may not be, if it's not the easiest for you, then you got to just try another one. Try HealthLink BC. That's a great one.
Oh, sorry, say that one again. Help link.
HealthLink.
Oh, health. Sorry. Okay. Health Link BC. I'm glad I asked because I misheard you.
Because I totally agree that some websites are built better than others. So let's go diseases and conditions. Okay, what do we want to learn about? ADHD? No, let's learn about coronavirus.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to go here, keep it up. Okay, highlights, updated school operational strategy when you've been fully guidance. Okay, what is that? Before your appointment. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So that's how I would go around.
Right.
You just have to kind of play around. But if we go to HealthLink BC, so we click this, and again, look, it's secure, so that's good. Health topics, okay. Search health topics. Let's say we wanted, I don't know if they'll have something on AstraZeneca.
We see it. No, I was looking to the list, but
Probably not. Let's say you want to learn about, you got an abscess in your tooth. Oh, where'd it go?
just had my tooth extracted the other day. The
Oh.
stitches are still huge too.
Oh, it's not
See, maybe you could learn about that here. I don't know.
Yeah.
My internet, I think, is being a bit funny. Personally, I think HealthLink is a really good resource for patients.
Mhm.
So search health topics, And then we'll search something about tooth.
So great that you've introduced us to Health Link, because that's a new title for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Broken tooth or dental appliance, knocked out tooth. What do you do? Tooth decay, tooth abscess.
so they have the subsections. Great. Two more questions, Noah. Somebody's asking, is Netscape reputable?
I actually don't know what Netscape is. Netscape is was that where you download stuff?
This to each other. Liz and I looked at each other and also said, we're unclear what is Netscape. But there it is. Oh, sorry, just
Netscape. Oh, yeah, that's kind of like a very old school browser, isn't it? Yeah, Netscape, internet. So independent headquarters. So to be honest, I wouldn't use Netscape personally. I use Google Chrome. You want to use like the most up-to-date browser. I think that's what Netscape is just a way to search.
Well, Noah, Liz and I were just smiling because we used immediately one of our good learnings from you. Check the date, and I said Netscape. Maybe it says at the bottom, founded in 1902.
When was it? When was it written?
Who knows?
Who knows? And it was updated.
References, though.
That's when we're ready, letter.
But anyways, I think it went down. I wouldn't use Netscape as the bottom line.
And so we come to the final question. Again, Liz and I aren't sure about the pronunciation here, but it says, what do you know about the two treatments for COVID-19, Sanotize and Abcelera, that were developed in Vancouver? Why has Health Canada not approved this yet?
So I can't speak to why they haven't approved it yet. They go through a very extensive sort of data analysis prior to approving it, which thank God that they do, because if they didn't, we don't want them experimenting on us, right? We want stuff that's as evidence-based as possible. One of the main therapies right now is dexamethasone for people that are sick with COVID and requiring oxygen. There's a few other sort of immune therapies that can be used in specific situations, but those might be approved. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Medicine, we stick with the evidence as much as possible, even though it feels exciting in the beginning because you maybe see some results with something, but really we don't know what's going on behind the scenes as far as like side effects or risks. So there's a reason why Health Canada goes through their process, and it makes me feel happier living in this country.
For sure, and it's not going to be something, if done well, it's going to be overnight, you know, to have the outcome results. So Noah, I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't say they have learned a tremendous amount from you. Liz and I took notes like crazy. So those two key themes of credibility and content, and then the subsections underneath. I made a quick note for myself because I was thinking about the words that we hear often: disinformation, misinformation, and fake news. Thank goodness we don't have Mr. Fake News around quite as much as we used to. But you've given us such concrete and usable ways to help make sure that what we see and what we read, it's not just check with Dr. Google, you know, wide open window, but that what we see and what we read is credible and is trustworthy. I'm wondering if you know, Noah, of other people in the medical professions who are preparing or working on these kind of projects you are? I'm asking because my son is an orthopedic surgeon at Stanford University. And when I talk to him later tonight, I'm going to tell him all about this session and what we've learned. So I'm just wondering, are you aware that colleagues in other places are also pursuing this pathway to help people learn how to be more trusting or trustworthy or lack thereof?
So I certainly know Icon. So that's a good website for you guys to check out, the Icon website. We're going to be continuing to work on digital health literacy and trying to expand this program over the next year. It won't be me as the associate director, but one of my colleagues from Vancouver General is going to be, I'm going to be helping her transition into the role. So Icon is certainly a great resource. There is another organization at St. Paul's that is trying to do it as well, particularly with, I think, virtual sort of literacy, because people have to know how to connect with each other, to be social during these times, and how to connect with your physician. I can't say for other specific organizations. If, yeah, your son should start one.
Okay, right. Sorry, and somebody, the chat is great because somebody just posted Medscape, not Netscape. MED.
Oh, Medscape. Yeah,
You know
Medscape.
that site?
Yeah, Medscape, I know. I would say they're not the most trustworthy. I believe that they are a for-profit company, and doesn't mean it's bad. It just means if you can find other information, like have your go-tos. You know, maybe you like your red wine on Fridays and you like your Corona beers on Sunday. You know what you like and you know what to go to. Same thing with medical information. CDC, HealthLink, develop those couple ones that you know you can go to. Medscape is good. I use them as like for a medical sort of medications and stuff. But if we do a quick screen through here, applying lessons from your editor-in-chief, Medscape staff. Okay, about, you want to look for advertising policy. So what's the deal with that? Editorial policy. So I would probably read through some of these things before deciding whether or not advertising within a third-party advertiser, banner, blah, blah, blah. In addition, policy to advertise. So they are advertising, they're for-profit. So they have a higher risk of bias. We can't say whether or not they're biased or not, but there's certainly a higher risk of
For sure. And as you've taught us, if we had more time and looked more carefully and closely at all of these, you know, both credibility and content issues, we would probably come to a better answer. I'm seeing, Liz and I are just checking, are these more questions? There are a whole group in the chat who are saying, excellent presentation, great program, such useful information, really reassuring, and everybody is thanking you. And as we approach Pesach, knowing you told us a little bit about your Jewish background, I'm thinking of a cartoon I saw that shows Moses standing on the top of the mountain with the tablet and says, the caption is something to the effect, I'm not going to do it justice, don't think that all our computer is just developed now. Moses was the first. He had the tablet and it was on the iCloud. Up in the iCloud. It has been an amazing afternoon. Liz and I have about 5 pages of notes. Now, Liz and Jen, will this be available on our website at some later point? It will, because I know several people have asked in the past. They loved and learned so much they'd like to rewatch, re-listen, relearn. And 2 people asked me during the week that they couldn't come today, but we're hoping that it would be on the website. So the answer is a yes, thumbs up. Supernova, we wish you all well. People who would have joined in later maybe didn't know in our earlier chat that Noah and his wife are expecting their babe April 15th, I think 3 weeks from now. So We're wishing you an advanced Mazel Tov that all goes well. And we'll say good afternoon to all our participants. It truly has been outstanding. Thumbs up in every way.
Chag Sameach to all.
Thank you guys. Hug some.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.